and this was the biggest, simplest, most pivotal component of the foresight methodology. The common challenge can be deconstructed into a couple of elements. The first being client voice. The example that you gave just now of being like, we talked to a lot of VPs of sales, and they're struggling with doing outbound or whatever. In as much as possible, really try to make it sound like whatever you're saying is coming out of their mouth, right? In speaking with other VPs of sales, they're telling us, right? This isn't like a conclusion that I came to from talking to them. This is literally what I'm hearing from them. They're telling us, and then the next component, which is the challenge itself, you can't call someone's baby ugly. You have to avoid potentially attacking a process or a solution, because you never know if the person you're speaking to was the champion for that process or that solution. The best way to do that is to either leverage a trend or to just make it seem like you can either leverage an existing trend, or you can make it seem like it's a trend, or you can give them an easy sort of like, how are you seeing that? So for example, you can be like, hey, from speaking with a lot of VPs of sales, they're telling us that outbound is really hard right now. I'm kind of curious, how are you seeing that? And this is the point at which it's very important to have an open-ended question. It's like, I'm curious, a lot of VPs of sales in your industry or whatever are telling me that it's very hard to do outbound right now. I'm curious, how are you seeing that? How are you tackling that? How is that affecting you? That's if it were a trend, right? If you wanted to make it seem like less of a trend, it's like, in speaking with a lot of VPs of sales, they're telling us that sales teams are finding it really difficult to do outbound right now, either because people aren't responding to emails as much, everybody's going back into the office. Like, make it seem like there are things outside of their control that are happening. And they tell me that they're usually either outsourcing their outbound sales, or they're sort of investing more into their existing teams. Which boat are you guys in, right? This is it. It's less of an open-ended question, and it does give them a few outs, but it's also an opportunity for you to sound more like a peer. And actually, that's across everything that's happening. The most important underlying component is, you might be a kid with 4 jobs that's trying to do business to business for the first time in his life, or you might be somebody with a master's degree in geriatric psychiatry who's taking a weird turn from that field. At the end of the day, as soon as somebody answers, you are their peer. If it's a VP of sales, talk to them like you're a VP of sales. You really have to believe it. And when you ask these questions, when you talk about these challenges, use the language that you've heard from them. Consume as much research, consume as much content as you can to sound knowledgeable on the field, and just be a peer. Don't call anybody sir or madam, because that's not how we talk to each other, right?